Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to explore a question many people have. Why do some individuals appear significantly younger than their biological age? You've probably met someone and been shocked to learn they're 10 years older than they look. Is it genetics? Partly? But that's not the full picture. There are hidden, often misunderstood reasons that explain this youthful appearance, and they're rooted in how our brains, biology, behavior, and environment interact. Let's break down 7 of the most surprising contributors, with an emphasis on science-backed insights. Sleep is not just rest, it's active, neurobiological restoration. During deep sleep, especially slow-wave sleep, the glymphatic system clears out waste from the brain, and the body releases human growth hormone, which aids in cellular repair. Chronic good sleep literally regenerates your skin and organs. Those who consistently hit 7-9 hours with high sleep efficiency show fewer visible signs of aging. While chronic stress accelerates aging through cortisol dysregulation, a moderate and well-managed stress load can have the opposite effect. Practices like cold exposure, intermittent fasting, and high-intensity interval training activate hormesis, a cellular stress response that strengthens resilience and promotes longevity markers like improved mitochondrial function and telomere length. Sleep plays a much more profound role in our physical appearance than most people realize. It is not simply the absence of waking. It is a complex and highly regulated biological state in which the body engages in a vast array of repair processes. During sleep, especially during the stages known as slow-wave sleep and REM sleep, the body performs tasks that are foundational to cellular maintenance, tissue regeneration, and the regulation of hormones involved in metabolism and aging. People who appear younger than their chronological age are often unknowingly benefiting from consistent and high-quality sleep that allows these mechanisms to work optimally over time. One of the key processes that occurs during deep sleep is the release of human growth hormone, HGH. H is critical for the repair and regeneration of tissues, including the skin, muscles, and even internal organs. Unlike synthetic growth hormones or external supplements, this naturally released hormone is tightly regulated by the brain, specifically by the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, in response to the body's internal circadian clock. This hormone helps maintain skin thickness and elasticity and accelerates the repair of microdamage that accumulates during the day from UV exposure, oxidative stress, and environmental pollutants. When someone gets consistent, undisturbed sleep, typically between 7 and 9 hours, depending on individual variation, their body has the opportunity to sustain optimal levels of H release. Over weeks, months, and years, this contributes to fewer wrinkles, better muscle tone, and an overall youthful appearance. At the neurological level, sleep also enables the functioning of the brain's waste-clearing system, glymphatic the glymphatic system. This system becomes highly active during deep, non-REM sleep, and it serves to flush out metabolic waste products that build up during waking hours, such as beta amyloid and tau proteins, compounds that are also implicated in cognitive decline, and neurodegenerative diseases when they accumulate excessively. The removal of these waste products not only helps preserve cognitive function, but also supports mental sharpness, clarity, and emotional balance. These are traits we often associate with youth, and they also tend to reflect physically in a person's face, posture, and general demeanor for each. Someone who regularly experiences restorative sleep usually has brighter eyes, clear skin, and a more energetic presence. These features are often perceived, accurately or not, as signs of a younger biological age. Another factor at play is the regulation of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol follows a natural daily rhythm and typically peaks in the early morning to help us wake up and become alert. However, chronic sleep deprivation or stellar sleep schedules can disrupt this rhythm and lead to elevated cortisol levels at inappropriate times. This persistent elevation can accelerate skin aging by breaking down collagen and elastin, the proteins responsible for maintaining skin structure. High cortisol also increases systemic inflammation and weakens the immune system, both of which contribute to the visible signs of aging. In contrast, people who maintain good sleep hygiene meaning consistent sleep and wake times, a dark and cool environment, and minimal light exposure before bed often have well-regulated cortisol levels, which support healthier skin, reduced inflammation, and more robust immunity. Over time, these factors create a significant difference in how someone looks and feels. Melatonin, another hormone that rises in the evening and supports sleep onset, also has antioxidant properties. It helps combat oxidative stress, which is a major contributor to aging at the cellular level. People with regular sleep cycles tend to have stronger melatonin rhythms and therefore better protection against cellular damage caused by free radicals. This protection is not only internal, it shows externally in smoother skin texture, more even pigmentation, and less susceptibility to conditions like hyperpigmentation or age spots. While the effects of melatonin might seem subtle day to day, they accumulate over time and contribute significantly to the preservation of a youthful appearance. What's particularly interesting is that many people who appear younger than they are do not necessarily have different genes. They simply engage in consistent behaviors that support the biological systems designed to maintain youth. Sleep is one of the most critical behaviors in this category. It is not glamorous, and it doesn't come with marketing campaigns like some anti-aging products. Quality sleep doesn't just reduce dark circles or puffiness around the eyes. It fundamentally alters the rate at which the body ages. When sleep is consistent and restorative, the entire system, from mitochondria to hormones to neural circuits, is in a better state of repair and renewal. This holistic benefit of sleep often makes the difference between someone who seems tired, sluggish, and older than they are, and someone who radiates energy, clarity, and youthfulness well into their later years. Most people think of looking younger as a function of skincare routines, genetics, or exercise. But one of the lesser known and often overlooked factors is the way facial muscles behave over time. The human face is composed of dozens of small, finely tuned muscles that are constantly engaged, even when we are not consciously aware of it. These muscles are responsible not only for facial expression, but also for the overall tension and positioning of the skin, especially around the eyes, mouth, and forehead. The cumulative effect of these subtle muscle movements, held expressions, and microcontractions plays a significant role in how the face is perceived in terms of age. Interestingly, individuals who look younger than their chronological age often have an unconscious command of facial musculature that helps them maintain smoother, more relaxed, and more open expressions. One of the key reasons behind this has to do with the default state of facial tension. Many people, especially under ongoing psychological stress or mental overload, begin to carry unconscious tension in the face. This shows up as furrowed brows, tight jawlines, clenched mouths, and elevated shoulders that subtly pull at the neck and jaw. Over time, the repeated contraction of these muscles leads to fixed expression patterns, what we commonly refer to as frown lines, crow's feet, or forehead crease. These expressions, when held daily and often without awareness, begin to shape the skin above them, like constant pressure leaving an imprint. People who look younger often have less of this habitual tension, not because they have avoided stress, but because they've learned, either through lifestyle or subconscious adaptation, to release it. Certain mental and physical practices influence this in subtle but powerful ways. Breathwork, meditation, mindfulness training, and even certain forms of yoga or movement-based disciplines like Tai Chi often emphasize awareness of physical tension. These practices encourage the practitioner to check in with their body regularly, and over time, they naturally reduce baseline muscular tension. When applied to the face, this results in a more neutral, calm expression at rest. That calmness is not only perceived as more youthful, but also avoids the long-term imprint of repetitive strain on the facial skin. The difference may be subtle day to day, but across years and decades, it is significant. Furthermore, facial expression is tightly linked to emotion and perception, not just from the outside in, but from the inside out. The facial feedback hypothesis, a well-documented psychological theory, proposes that our expressions can influence our internal emotional state. When a person frequently smiles or keeps their face relaxed, even without strong emotional triggers, the brain interprets these signals and adjusts neurotransmitter activity accordingly. Dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, chemicals associated with well-being and vitality, are subtly regulated by these muscular cues. In contrast, a constantly tense or frowning face reinforces feelings of stress and fatigue, which can increase the perception of age, both internally and externally. Over time, these feedback loops have a compounding effect. Relaxed faces support relaxed minds, and vice versa, and both contribute to a youthful presence. Another aspect of facial musculature that plays a role in perceived youth is symmetry and mobility. As we age, facial symmetry can decline, and some muscles become either overused or underactive. This can lead to imbalances. One eyebrow slightly higher, one side of the mouth pulled differently, or subtle drooping around the eyes. People who engage in practices that encourage facial awareness or movement, whether consciously through facial exercises or indirectly through body-focused disciplines, often maintain better symmetry and muscular tone in the face. Again, these effects are often not recognized day to day, but they add up over years. A balanced face that moves fluidly and expresses emotion clearly tends to be read as more youthful, even if the skin itself shows signs of age. Finally, the eyes deserve specific attention. They are the focal point of human interaction and are particularly sensitive to changes in muscular tone and expression. The muscles around the eyes are among the most active in the face, responsible for squinting, blinking, and subtle emotional cues. When these muscles are overused through constant screen time, stress, or habitual squinting, it can lead to both fatigue and premature lines. Conversely, when eye muscles are relaxed and coordinated with the rest of the face, the eyes appear brighter, more open, and more present. This is one of the most immediate indicators of youth and vitality in a person, regardless of actual age. In some, the way we use and hold our facial muscles every day, often unconsciously, has a long-term impact on how old we appear. Relaxed, mobile, and balanced facial musculature promotes not only a more youthful appearance, but also supports emotional regulation and neurological feedback loops that reinforce vitality. Those who naturally or intentionally cultivate these habits often carry a kind of freshness in their appearance that defies their biological age, not because they've avoided aging, but because they've remained engaged with how their body, and especially their face, expresses their internal state. The role of stress in aging is often misunderstood. Most people associate stress with negative consequences, and for good reason. Chronic, unregulated stress has a well-documented relationship with biological aging. It contributes to systemic inflammation, accelerates cellular wear and tear, and disrupts hormonal systems that regulate recovery and repair. However, what is rarely discussed outside academic circles is that not all stress is harmful. In fact, certain forms of temporary, manageable stress can actually promote long-term health and even slow down the aging process. This type of beneficial stress acts like a biological training session, improving the body's resilience, boosting cellular efficiency, and increasing the robustness of systems involved in repair. The body's stress response is governed largely by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is a highly adaptive mechanism that evolved to deal with acute threats in the environment. When activated briefly, this system improves alertness, sharpens focus, mobilizes energy stores, and increases readiness for action. In short bursts, this response primes the body to respond to challenges. But when stress is prolonged and never relieved, the same system begins to erode health. What makes the difference between helpful and harmful stress is not just intensity, but timing, recovery, and context. When people engage in deliberate exposure to controlled stress, such as brief cold exposure, short-term fasting, or high-effort physical exercise, they activate biological pathways that train the body to recover more efficiently, use energy more effectively, and reinforce adaptive responses that maintain youthfulness. This kind of beneficial stress triggers a cellular phenomenon known as hormesis. Hormesis is the principle that a small dose of something potentially harmful can actually strengthen the system it affects. For instance, when exposed to cold water for a short period of time, the body increases norepinephrine release, boosts circulation, and promotes fat metabolism. It also increases the expression of cold shock proteins, which have protective effects on cells. Similarly, when a person undergoes a brief fast, meaning they abstain from food for a defined window of time, the body enters a metabolic state that promotes autophagy. This is the internal cleanup process, where damaged or unnecessary cellular components are broken down and recycled. Autophagy plays a crucial role in maintaining cellular function and is closely linked to longevity. High-effort physical activity also fits into this framework. When someone performs short bursts of intense exercise, the muscles undergo microscopic stress that leads to temporary inflammation and fatigue. But in response, the body adapts by increasing mitochondrial density, enhancing glucose sensitivity, and upregulating antioxidant defenses. These adaptations help regulate energy metabolism and reduce oxidative stress, two processes that directly impact how quickly or slowly cells age. People who consistently engage in these controlled stressors often report more energy, clearer thinking, and better sleep, all of which contribute to their appearance and physiological youthfulness. Another interesting observation in individuals who look younger than their chronological age is that they often have a well-regulated nervous system. The autonomic nervous system, which controls involuntary functions like heart rate and digestion, has two branches, sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic branch activates the fight or flight response, while the parasympathetic branch promotes rest and digestion. People who train their bodies to handle temporary stress often develop better balance between these two systems. This balance shows up in improved heart rate variability, better control of blood pressure, and more stable mood. These internal markers are not typically visible to the naked eye, but they influence the quality of skin, the brightness of the eyes, and the fluidity of movement, traits we associate with youth. One overlooked benefit of controlled stress is its impact on mental resilience. Just as physical stressors train the body, psychological challenges handled deliberately, such as learning something difficult, adapting to change, or taking calculated risks, stimulate the release of dopamine and other neuromodulators that enhance motivation and drive. These chemical messengers do more than regulate mood. They influence brain plasticity, support long-term memory, and help maintain a growth-oriented mindset. Over time, individuals who embrace occasional discomfort tend to carry themselves with more confidence, purpose, and engagement. This attitude often translates into posture, eye contact, and vocal tone, all subtle signals that others interpret as indicators of youth. To be clear, not all stress is beneficial. Chronic financial pressure, toxic relationships, and sleep deprivation fall into the category of unregulated stress that damages health. But controlled exposure to short-term discomfort, paired with adequate recovery, serves a very different purpose. It's a signal to the body to adapt, not collapse. And when practiced consistently, it trains the biology to become more efficient, more responsive, and more capable of self-repair. Over time, this translates into a slower aging process, not just at the cellular level, but in the way a person moves, speaks, and looks. There is a growing body of research showing that the timing and quality of light exposure can have far-reaching effects on how we age, not only internally, but in ways that are visibly reflected in our skin, eyes, and general appearance. People who seem to maintain a youthful look well into middle age or beyond often follow daily routines that support a synchronized biological rhythm. Even if they're unaware of it, their interaction with light, particularly early in the day, plays a crucial role in this process. The body is a time-sensitive system. Virtually every cell operates on a 24-hour cycle that is regulated by what's known as the circadian clock. This internal timing system controls hormone release, digestion, body temperature, immune function, and even how and when the body repairs itself. Light is the most powerful signal that calibrates this clock, and the most influential window for this signal is in the first hour after waking. When the eyes are exposed to natural light shortly after waking, a cascade of physiological processes is initiated. Light receptors in the retina detect the rising intensity of sunlight and send a signal directly to the brain's master clock, located in a region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This master clock, in turn, coordinates countless downstream systems, including the balance between two critical hormones, cortisol and melatonin. Cortisol, often thought of only as a stress hormone, plays a key role in energizing the body at the start of the day. Its natural rise in the morning, in response to light, promotes alertness, focus, and metabolic readiness. When this spike happens at the correct time, early in the morning, it supports a wide range of healthy processes. However, when light exposure is delayed or absent in the morning, cortisol may rise at the wrong time or remain elevated late into the evening, disrupting sleep and repair cycles. The skin, which is the body's largest organ, is particularly sensitive to these hormonal rhythms. When the circadian system is well aligned, the skin performs its protective and regenerative roles more efficiently. It regulates hydration, rebuilds collagen, and clears oxidative damage more effectively during nighttime rest. This synchronization between light exposure and biological repair is subtle but significant. Over time, it leads to clearer skin, fewer visible signs of inflammation, and a more even texture and tone. People who expose themselves to morning sunlight consistently tend to have a more balanced hormonal profile, which supports long-term skin health and slows the development of common age-related changes like sagging, dryness, and discoloration. What's particularly compelling is how the absence of light at the right times and the overexposure to artificial light at the wrong times can have the opposite effect. Many people delay exposure to natural light in the morning and instead encounter high amounts of blue light from screens late at night. This pattern confuses the brain's master clock, suppresses melatonin, and delays the onset of restorative sleep stages. Poor sleep and circadian misalignment go hand in hand, and both accelerate the visible effects of aging. Puffy eyes, dull skin, and uneven pigmentation can all be traced back, in part, to disrupted light cycles and the hormonal confusion that follows. Beyond the skin, the eyes themselves reveal much about circadian alignment. Brightness, clarity, and movement of the eyes are heavily influenced by sleep quality and daily light exposure. Individuals with consistent exposure to morning light tend to have more active tear production and less eye fatigue, leading to a fresher and more engaged look. The tiny blood vessels in the eyes also respond to circadian rhythms. And when those rhythms are stable, the eyes often appear clearer, less bloodshot, and more youthful over. This is something people notice without always knowing why. They're responding to a subtle biological signal of well-regulated internal timing. Another layer to consider is how light exposure affects mood and mental energy, which indirectly influences how old or young a person appears. Morning light helps regulate the release of serotonin, a neurotransmitter linked to mood stability, motivation, and general well-being. Higher and more stable levels of serotonin contribute to a person's emotional tone, their energy levels, and even their social expression. People who feel well tend to look well. They stand taller, express more naturally, and maintain eye contact. These behaviors register as youthfulness even if the individual shows typical signs of age elsewhere. Over years and decades, the daily rhythm of light exposure becomes a form of passive investment in the aging process. Those who begin each day with some time outside, whether walking, exercising, or simply sitting in natural light, are giving their biological system the cues it needs to stay synchronized. Their skin heals better, their hormones remain more balanced, and their mood supports a lifestyle of engagement and recovery. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day can make a difference when done consistently. This seemingly simple habit becomes a powerful influence on how gracefully a person ages inside and out. There's a growing understanding in science that how we age is not just about what we inherit from our parents, but also how our daily choices influence the way our genes are expressed. The idea that our behavior, environment, and especially our nutrition can shape the way our biology operates has gained significant attention in recent years. This concept, known through the lens of genre-environment interaction, helps explain why two people of the same age and similar background can look and feel dramatically different. Those who appear younger than their biological age are often engaging in small but powerful dietary habits that create ripple effects across their cellular systems, affecting energy production, inflammation levels, skin integrity, and overall resilience. Inside every cell, there are structures called mitochondria, which act like biological engines converting nutrients into usable energy. These structures are highly sensitive to what kinds of food we consume and how often we eat. Certain dietary compounds influence how efficiently mitochondria function, and that efficiency has a direct impact on how well the body maintains itself over time. For example, foods rich in specific plant compounds, like those found in berries, dark leafy greens, spices, and teas, contain molecules that signal the body to activate its internal repair pathways. These pathways can include cellular cleanup processes that remove damaged components and replace them with new ones. Over time, this leads to better maintenance of tissue structure, including that of the skin, muscles, and even the blood vessels that supply nutrients to those areas. In addition to supporting repair, nutrition plays a direct role in reducing unnecessary stress at the cellular level. Many signs of aging, both visible and hidden, are the result of oxidative damage. This occurs when unstable molecules, often produced during normal metabolism, interact with DNA, proteins, and other cellular machinery, causing small disruptions that accumulate over time. Nutrients found in a variety of whole foods, such as vitamin C and E, zinc, selenium, and numerous polyphenols, act as buffers against this kind of damage. When these nutrients are consistently present in the diet, the body is better equipped to neutralize harmful processes before they cause lasting effect. Over years and decades, this translates into slower development of wrinkles, less sagging in the skin, and better tone throughout the muscles and connective tissues. What is particularly fascinating is that the influence of nutrition goes deeper than energy and repair. It reaches into the level of gene expression. The human genome contains thousands of genes that are not always active. Whether a gene is turned on or off depends largely on what the body perceives as necessary at any given moment. Certain foods can signal the body to activate genes related to stress resilience, fat metabolism, and even longevity. This signaling is part of a field of study often referred to in molecular biology as epigenetics. People who consistently eat diets high in minimally processed, nutrient-dense foods unknowingly shape the activity of genes that help preserve their internal systems. This influence doesn't happen overnight, but over time it becomes a major contributor to how slowly or quickly someone shows signs of age. Another dimension of this influence is the way food affects inflammation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is now widely recognized as one of the core drivers of aging. It interferes with hormone signaling, damages tissues, and disrupts sleep. Many common modern foods, high in processed sugars, industrial fats, and synthetic additives, amplify these inflammatory pathways. In contrast, individuals who maintain a diet that reduces inflammatory triggers often exhibit clearer skin, steadier energy, and more consistent mood. These traits may not immediately be recognized as nutrition-related, but they deeply affect how a person is perceived in terms of vitality. They tend to move more fluidly, smile more easily, and express a kind of brightness that people often associate with youth. Even the timing of eating can play a role in this process. People who avoid eating late at night, for instance, give their body the chance to focus more fully on restoration during sleep. This is because digestion and cellular repair compete for energy and attention. If the body is busy processing food during the hours it should be repairing itself, maintenance processes can be delayed or compromised. On the other hand, when eating is done earlier in the day and spaced with periods of fasting, the body can more effectively activate repair cycles that clear waste, reduce inflammation, and support the production of collagen and other structural proteins, essential for youthful appearance. Ultimately, looking younger than one's age is rarely the result of any single action. Instead, it's the cumulative effect of many small signals sent to the body every day. Among the most influential of these signals are those sent by food. A person's nutritional patterns shape their biology in subtle yet lasting ways, influencing not only their energy and mood, but the condition of their skin, the clarity of their eyes, and the vibrancy of their movement. People who appear youthful well into later decades often live in alignment with these biological rhythms, even if they don't articulate it in scientific terms. Their habits, deliberate or intuitive, send the right instructions to their genes, and their appearance reflects it.